This is the strongest Warlock build that I've ever used, and it happens to be Strand. And it's funny enough because Strand wasn't in the place where I would think that I would ever say this, but guys, the Swarmers, the Weave Walk, the Threadlings, it's all a combination of things to get the job done. If you're new here, welcome to the family, and if you've been here, welcome home. Let's get into it. The problem that we had with Strand Warlock wasn't that it was bad in any way, it's just we lacked the damage to really put the pain on champions. We could clear ads no problem, deal with a couple yellow bars, but champions at higher level activity, we were not able to really coast with like Strand Titan or 1-2 punch Arc Hunters. But with Weave Walk being introduced, we have a way now to generate more Threadlings, keep our abilities up higher. That way we're able to deal with champions whenever they come out. The yellow bars that pack a punch, we're able to deal with those too, and we're still able to clear a room. Now, the biggest thing is, because we have Weave Walk isn't just to generate your Threadlings. Weave Walk allows you to generate 5 Threadlings and reposition yourself if you're in a tight spot. Too many ads, a champion comes out, you can use Weave Walk to essentially get out of that situation, reposition, and set up. Today's build is going to take full advantage of Weave Walk due to us having infinite melee energy, which is going to allow us to go in and out of the weave to generate our Threadlings, as well as a high uptime on our Rift because of the mods that we're going to be using and how we're going to rotate our abilities. With Weave Walk being the star of the show, we're going to pair this with Weaver's Call and Threadling Grenade. Once we enter the weave using Weave Walk, we're going to generate our 5 Threadlings. Once we're in a position to use our Rift, we're going to use Rift, and this will bring you out of Weave Walk, or you can air dodge again if you just want to get your 5 Threadlings ready. Once you cast your Rift, it will send out all current Threadlings, and then you pair this up with a Threadling Grenade. Now, this is going to give us the most ability energy back into our Rift, which is what we want because we're going to have such a high uptime on our melee energy by pairing this with Monte Carlo. For those who don't know, Monte Carlo is an exotic auto rifle that synergizes extremely well with this build because of how much we're going to be entering and exiting the weave. Monte Carlo's exotic perk is called Monte Carlo Method. Dealing damage with this weapon reduces your melee cooldown and grants a chance to fully charge your melee ability with each kill. Moving into our fragments, we're going to be running Thread of Evolution. Threadlings will travel farther and deal additional damage. We're going to be pairing this up with Thread of Warding. Picking up an Orb of Power grants Woven Mail. Woven Mail is just going to allow us to take reduced incoming damage, that is a precision from enemies. And last but not least, Thread of Generation. Dealing damage generates grenade energy. Once we send out all of our Threadlings and we're chunking the champions or deleting whatever ads are in the room, this is going to build right back into our grenade energy, so we have infinite melee energy. We're going to have our Rifts up all the time because of our ability loop. Now, dealing damage overall is going to build back into our grenades. So not only will melee be taken care of, our Rift be taken care of, we're also going to have our grenades covered because of Thread of Generation and how we're going to loop our abilities. For our stats on this build, we're going to be focusing Resilience, Recovery, and Discipline. My Resilience was 100, my Discipline was 100, my Recovery was a little lower being 26, but I was still reliably getting my Rift back and able to continue my ability loops and keep everything flowing the way that I wanted. For our mods, I'm going to be running 2 kinetic siphons on the helmet. I do find myself using Monte Carlo a good bit while using this build, so getting no orbs of power so I can feed back into myself and give myself Woven Mail works in my favor. You guys can change the Arc Siphon if you want to. I run the Loaded Question and Song of Ur-Yut, so me just having the Arc Siphon works better in the event that I do get the multi-kills with those. So again, I can just build back into myself and Woven Mail. For the gauntlets, I am going to be running Momentum Transfer and 2 Bolstering Detonations. For the chest piece, you guys can mix and match your resistances, but you do want Charged Up. That's going to increase the amount of armor charges that you can carry by 1. I do run Solar Resistance, but again, that just depends on the activity and the damage check that the enemies are doing. On the boots, I am going to be running Recuperation and Installation. Installation is going to reduce a class ability cooldown each time you pick up an Orb of Power, and Recuperation is going to replenish health each time you pick up an Orb of Power. Follow that up with stacks on stacks. Picking up an Orb of Power is going to grant you 1 additional stack of armor charge. For our class item, we're going to be running Reaper and Utility Kickstart. Reaper is going to allow us to use our class ability, and once we do so, our weapon Final Blow is going to spawn an Orb of Power. Now, we're going to pair that with Utility Kickstart. When you use your class ability, you're going to gain a class ability energy at the cost of 1 armor charge, which is why we're running Charged Up and stacks on stack. As far as weapons go, you guys can choose what you want to use and what you want to replace it with. The Monte Carlo is kind of a non-negotiable. We kind of need that to build into Weave Walk, so the Monte Carlo is going to be in our primary slot. Now for me, I do run the Loaded Question on my secondary and the Song of Ur-Ute in my heavy. I run the Loaded Question so I can deal with the unstoppable champions, and I run the Song of Ur-Ute so I can dig deep into the yellow bars, the red bars, and stun my overload champions. The exotic armor piece of choice is going to be Swarmers. Swarmers will allow us to destroy a tingle and create 2 additional threadlings that will then unravel the enemy. Unraveling an enemy allows the threadling to do continuous damage over time and unravel them into a tingle if our tingle cooldown is expired. Now that we have our loadout created and set up, let's summarize how we're going to use this in in-game activity or any activity for that matter. First, we'll start off by using Weave Walk to generate our 5 threadlings. Once we're in a position, we're going to use our Rift to send all of them out, followed up by a grenade. That's going to build into our Rift. That ability loop is what we're also going to be using the duration of the activity. We're also going to be running the Monte Carlo so we can clean up the ads. The red bars, the yellow bars are champions, so we can build into our infinite melee. One thing to note about this build, any extra threadlings that you don't use will refund back into you. So sometimes after your super, there will be a couple of threadlings that linger. They will come back to you, and you don't have to worry about maybe not using all your threadlings and waiting for somebody else to kill. If you kill an enemy before the threadling gets to it, it will come back to you. That's going to wrap up the build today, guys. This build overall is a really good change of pace for me and a breath of fresh air. I don't feel like I have to stay confined to Well Warlock or Cenotaph Warlock to generate heavy for the team. This build gives me the survivability and high damage output I need to contest with other high-end builds out there that people use in Master Raids and Grandmaster Nightfalls. Let me know what you guys think below. Let me know how it works for you guys and whatever activity you guys are trying to get done. If you guys haven't already, a thumbs up on the video and subscribing really goes a long way, and it lets me know that you guys want more content. Also, let me know what builds you guys want to see, whether that's another Warlock, Titan, or Hunter, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.